The new report says that there's an 80% chance that the next 5 years will include the hottest year ever recorded. There's an 86% likelihood that 1 year in this 5 will breach the 1.5 degree Paris Climate Agreement, with a 70% chance of average warming from 2025 to 2029 exceeding 1.5 degrees centigrade. Joining us now, Harjeet Singh and Raghu Murtugode, to give us their sense of what we are staring at. Mr. Harjeet Singh, to you first. If we are crossing that Paris Agreement threshold, is it something that can be reversed easily, or even if it is reversed, will we see the impact of that reversal only be upon us many years later?
So Vishnu, as you rightly said, this is a very critical warning for the world and especially for India. 2024, we've already crossed that 1.5 degree threshold. And as scientists say, it is temporary, because when we talk about the longer term temperature rise, we still see hope that we'll be able to bring it below 1.5 degree. But this particular report is very stark because it's talking about the next 5-year prediction that we are going to have an average warming between 1.2 to 1.9 degrees Celsius, which means we are very likely to cross that threshold, which is extremely worrying because every fraction of a degree matters. And we are talking about a warming that's going to translate into severe and frequent heat waves. Let's talk about India, which is already grappling with it. It's about health impacts, strain on our energy grids, and reduced productivity. So we are looking at increasing intensity and frequency of disasters that we're already grappling with. And that's extremely concerning for India as an economy and also for its people.
Mr. Murtugode, in terms of climate change, it keeps changing from year to year. It keeps changing from region to region. We have floods in one area and droughts in another. In your assessment, what are we seeing in India so far? We've seen an early onset of the monsoon, which is welcome news at one level. But is that also part of a variation which we need to be concerned about?
Yeah, one thing we have to remember is that everything is now happening in a warmer world. So everything has a component of warming in it. But monsoon onset is very much a weather phenomenon. The previous early onset was in 2009, and early onset doesn't always tell you what the season holds, because 2009 had a May 23rd onset, but it turned out to be a very severe drought. So we are still evolving, and we are expecting a break now. We had lots of pre-monsoon, and hopefully, the forecast say we'll have slightly excess rain this season. Hopefully that's what will happen. But as you said, the amount of rain almost has no meaning now, because how it is distributed in space and time is much more important. So we are already seeing some dry patch from Delhi down into Chhattisgarh, Odisha, even as Delhi is getting excess rain. Northwest is expected to get floods. So you will have probably droughts in parts of Maharashtra and Karnataka. So this is what we have to deal with. Of course, it is related to global warming in the sense everything is coming from the global scale, but we have local amplifiers that we have to worry about. All the land use change we are making, deforestation, urbanization. So it's a bit of a problem, but fortunately, we are also growing our early warning systems, and they are becoming better, and DMA is doing better. So we are getting better at handling these things, but there is a longer term resilience and adaptation needed as well.
Mr. Harjeet Singh, in fact, that was my next question. The ability to actually forecast climate change patterns and risks, is that at all feasible? I do know that there is very advanced computation which is going into it, but are we reliably placed to know whether we face extreme events in a finite period of time?
Well, in terms of early warning, Vishnu, we have been doing pretty well. And the kind of science that exists and the kind of capacity we have, relying on climate models, you can't fully rely on them because the way things are changing, but we can predict and we can generate that information, and we can even pass on that information. And we have been doing pretty well, as Dr. Raghu said, in terms of early warning. I think the concern is what happens after that. When there is a major disaster and the kind of disruption it causes to people and economy, and the time and money it takes to recover from that, is something that we are not ready for. I must say the amount of money that we have allocated for adaptation, as Dr. Raghu said, it's so important. It has not been enough. States are not ready. Districts still are working on their adaptation plans. And we are talking about a world where sea levels are rising, our coastal cities are at risk, our coastal economies are at risk. We need to make sure that our agriculture is climate resilient. We need to protect our economy. We need to make sure that we have enough systems in place to protect people from heat waves. We are going to see intense bursts leading to floods in some areas, and some areas are going to face drought. Are we ready for that erratic weather patterns that we are seeing more and more? I don't think our infrastructure is still ready, and the unpredictable monsoons are a major threat to our agriculture systems, our food security, and our economy. So, adaptation is something that is really lacking in India, and that's what we should be most concerned about at this moment.
Professor Murthukutti, a last word from you, and correct me if I'm wrong, if we do breach 2 degrees on a consistent basis, there is no return, right? We will then be looking at a fundamentally different planet Earth. 1.5 degrees, we shouldn't get over, but there's hope that we can turn it around. But if we get to that 2-degree mark, it's our way of living would essentially change, right?
I'm not a big fan because remember, 2 degrees C came from Bill Nordhaus in the 1970s. It's not a scientifically derived target, but as Dr. Har Singh said, every 0.1 degree warming is going to be bad for us. Is it a point of no return? Sea level rise is kind of a one-way street because glaciers melt. They don't build back so quickly. They take geological timescales to rebuild. But a lot of the things like heat waves and extreme rainfall can begin to subside. And especially if we do adaptation, not only in terms of how to help people deal with this better, but reforesting and doing the urban resilience, giving rural people the tools to deal with the heat waves, agricultural adaptation and protection for crops. So we are doing better. The earlier point about early warnings model, India announced a 6-kilometer model. We're going to combine it with artificial intelligence to produce hyper-local information for dealing with risks. We are mapping risks for agriculture, water, energy, food, transportation, health, etc. So we will get there, and we are getting there. India has invested well and is headed in the right direction, but we can hardly keep up with the changes. So we have to constantly keep moving faster and faster to keep up with Mother Nature.
All right, well, Raghu Murthukutti and Harjeet Singh, I'd like to thank you both very much for being with us. We keep raising this alarm on this program to raise awareness, but unfortunately, the reality of climate change is upon us and just doesn't seem to be going away. We'll keep tracking this theme on NDTV. For the moment, it's time for this short break.